All right.
Hey.
Well, welcome to the quarantine edition of Cambridge Inside Out.
Yes, it's the
I'm
first.
Robert Winters,
And I'm Judy Nathans.
and today is April 16th, 2020.
Yes.
And, and the adventure continues.
Right. Now, Robert, so I see you. Am I next to you, Robert? Because on my computer, I'm not. But,
Right. Well, I think what you see is the other two. So, okay. So
oh,
you
okay.
that's okay. That's perfectly fine. That's right.
All right. So that's fine. So I just, when I'm talking, you're full screen, whatever. I don't really
All
care.
right. We'll do okay. All right. So anyway, welcome back to Cambridge Inside Out. I think we're a
Cambridge
little more
Upside Down. I think it's Cambridge
well.
Upside
Well,
Down.
I think Inside Out is sort of appropriate. We're a
Well,
lot more
that's true.
inside than outside
Well,
now,
that's a good point, too. You're right.
to be sure.
You're
You know,
right.
and certainly plenty of things to talk about. It. It's been a while since we were back here
Yes.
doing broadcasts, so definitely things
March
worth
10th.
saying.
It was March 10th was our last show.
Right, and I hope everybody's sort of going around with their masks and
Oh,
or
you got a very
gloves.
technical one. I have one of those, but I'm not allowed out in the stores according to my daughter. So I wear my cloth when I was given a bandana, and that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have the masks because we had been doing work on the
Oh,
house
I
and we were
know.
doing
That's right.
sanding of plaster dust and such.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I actually had the
Oh,
masks for that.
I know. We found out we had them too because of David's constructions. So I have two. I'm saving it if I have to go to a doctor or something.
Anyway, plenty of things to talk about. One of the things I think is maybe worth doing, and I think maybe even we'll put up a little bit of a graphic to illustrate this a little bit.
Yeah.
Is this sort of this, for anybody who goes out on the street there many times a day, where it's a completely different, almost surreal sort of existence. I just want to give it a little quick illustration of that.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to the sort of horrifying reality and the
Yes.
fact that there's actual sickness and death associated with this terrible, terrible virus. But I also just want to point out here, and again, some of these are just sort of cribbed off the internet. But
Yeah. Harvard
people,
Square. Yeah.
yeah, people have been posting pictures of just what the city is like on any given day. This was like in the middle of a day.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, it was rainy, but just Harvard Square, which is just empty.
Yep. Yep.
Yet another one looking the other way, just empty.
Yep.
Right. This, I think, are some of your photos, Judy.
Right. That's one of them. I have many others, but we can do it another time. But yeah, I mean, everyone says it's so crowded out there on the sidewalks, but just you can see that was April 7th, I think.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
many days, many hours of the day,
Yeah.
it's just nothingness.
Right.
Down here.
Oh, did I send you that one too? I think that's mine too. That's by
I
MIT.
think that is.
That's
Exactly.
by MIT just the other day. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and these are like, oftentimes middle of the day. It's really like scenes from a Twilight Zone episode.
It's in the afternoon, right. Now,
yeah.
People complain about, the sidewalks being crowded. Now, granted, if you go on look at that, turkeys.
One of the kind of more sort of comical things as part of this horrible, horrible time is that I actually saw some images in one of the neighboring towns of a wolf running down the middle of the street.
A wolf?
No, excuse me. It was actually a coyote.
I was going to say coyotes I know about, yeah.
Yeah, and then this is right here in the middle of Harvard Square, just turkeys. You do see the occasional turkey, but
yeah, we have, yes.
But they're just sort of walking around like they own the place.
Well, they do. Yeah, look at that.
In many ways. I actually finally, I hadn't been out in days, and today now for a little bit of a walk.
So is this from today?
Well, actually, this is one from today at City Hall.
Get out! Look at that.
So the turkeys are taking over City Hall now.
Oh gosh, that's a terrible metaphor.
And the amazing thing is now people go, yeah, okay, fine, more wildlife,
Yeah.
There we go. Right. But I'm just sort of popping through a few of these images right here, and I'll come back to it in a minute. But just to sort of show that some of the harsh realities of this.
I know.
Not only impacts on housing, instruction, but businesses. A lot of people focus on the restaurant, but businesses all up and down, Central Square, Harvard Square, everywhere are really suffering. So anyway, I'm going to come back out to me now. Hopefully we're back now. I hope.
I
Is
guess
that
so. I
true?
mean, again, I'm not, I thought I'd be side by side with you, but Seth connect.
Yeah, it's a little navigate window, but
So
yeah.
what,
So
what do you see on your computer? Do you see yourself or do you see me?
now I see you
Oh,
and another window. Yeah. And
oh,
hopefully you
okay.
see me then. All right.
Oh, I get
So,
it. Right.
you know, now, that's just sort of visually, when you're sort of out and about, what are
Yeah.
you seeing, right? But I think there's a lot to be said for how a city, and especially the city, is actually responding to this crisis that nobody could have wished on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not just talking about the local elected officials, but the city
Yep.
manager. I'd
Yep.
have to say personally, our current mayor, Sumbul Siddiqui, has
Terrific.
really stepped up
Yep.
and distinguished herself
Yes.
majestically.
Can I
You
just
know,
say something? Wait, in
go
reference
ahead.
to that, because I've been listening to the city council meetings. Really torturous, especially public comment, and anybody that can navigate that and carefully negotiate that deserves a medal. And she's done phenomenally well with that. I don't know if you've listened. It's very hard. Some people are, they're not there or you can't hear them, and then it's just been amazing. It really has. Yeah.
I think it's a steep learning curve. Those of us who are
Yeah.
actually using Zoom to teach classes, the first
Right.
ones are a little awkward, but after a while you do acclimate. So now when I do my lectures, I'm doing it almost as efficiently as I would if
Right.
I was doing a
I
regular
mean,
class.
yeah, I mean, I think the Zoom public comments, it's just a little different than regular Zoom, because I've
Yes.
done Zoom meetings and they pretty go smoothly. This is different because because the whole meeting isn't in, it's different. It's
Yeah,
hard. Yeah,
I've skipped out on the public comment part of
I
it.
know you.
But I
That's
do
my
catch times. Yeah, that's the performance art part of the meeting. Yeah.
well, but it's been interesting. It really has. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
One of the things that I can't have to admit I never fully understood, and I think maybe I still don't fully understand, because depending on how you read the city charter,
yeah,
if there's a declared emergency, as long as the city council gives the go ahead, who's basically the boss? Now, during normal times, it's clearly the city manager, but
yeah.
there is wording in the charter that says that the mayor actually
Hmm.
takes on this authority. You
Really?
know, in a declared emergency.
Hmm.
And I think that only because it seems to me that whenever you get a notice from the city, it always says the city manager and Mayor Siddiqui.
Oh, they're the couple. Yep.
They are
Yep.
definitely joined at the hip, and well, 6 part, of course,
Exactly.
right?
With masks on. Yeah.
But the thing is that I don't know that it's entirely clear who holds authority. So they basically says, okay, we'll just
Yeah.
we'll make the announcements jointly by
Yes.
default, and we'll worry about the other details at some other time. So that's been a little bit
Yeah, I
just
mean, to
more
me,
from
it's
an
like
interest.
the police commissioner, head of DPW, Louis, human services, mayor, they all meet every day because those are really your services that need to be attended to.
Yeah,
City council is important, but in this realm, it really comes down to department heads and how we run the city and things that have to get done. And,
yeah,
you know, I think it
and
supersedes that.
and I think the city council definitely has a policy making role. There have been times,
Yeah.
thankfully they don't do it too much. But where
Yeah.
I actually heard the word, I don't forget who coined it, but it might have been Anthony Galluccio, who was making reference to corona agendas, which
Oh,
is where people are capitalizing on a crisis in order to sort of push things.
yes.
And I think in the very early weeks of this, there was at least a little hint of that starting to happen, but it was immediately squelched.
Hmm.
And for the most part, I have to say the counselors, with a few notable exceptions, are tending to kind of stay on point. It's a little awkward sometimes when they seem to be trying to second guess, public health people, police commissioner, city manager, which I think, if I'm detecting it correctly,
Hmm.
has led to like a little bit of tension. But I think, thankfully,
Oh,
our mayor is
yeah.
pretty good at sort of
Yeah.
stepping that down, and I
Yes.
give her a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
So,
Helpful to have her legal background in negotiation law, I think.
absolutely
Yeah.
true. Yeah.
Um,
One other aspect of this entire horrible period of time is
Mm,
that it actually tends to highlight certain things that that people talked about in the abstract prior to this. For example, things like the so-called digital divide,
yes.
or disparities between people of various stations in life.
Hmm.
Boy, does that stuff brought into clear focus
Wow,
in the midst of this.
absolutely. You're right. It's a paycheck to paycheck people. What else? Healthcare. You lose your employer-based healthcare. Boy, if this is not brought out, how not such a good idea that is sometimes.
And I
Uh,
really hope that gets addressed.
yeah, and what's the other one? There was another one that's really well. The digital divide is like, wow. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, I guess the city did set up hotspots for kids that
Yeah,
have Is that what happened?
they did that. I think it was probably only because it's the only practical way to do it. They probably did it near a lot of public housing
Right,
developments.
because the kids get the Chromebooks from high school. I don't know
Yeah,
what the younger kids do, and I mean, I don't really know how. I I must say I did not read any. I know Sumbel, I guess, presented some minutes from the school committee the last. So I don't know if they talked about that, about what that's been like for the kids.
it's definitely part of the ongoing conversation.
Yeah,
I think it might have been from Anthony Galluccio, but it could have been from
uh,
elsewhere, that in the city of Boston,
yeah,
somebody said, and again, I didn't bother to verify this, but that a
yeah,
rather significant percentage of students, I guess that they're transitioning to the
yeah,
online learning,
yeah.
but half or more at like
Right.
Boston High School had not yet logged in.
Wait,
So,
you mean they had the capability and they didn't log in?
no, I don't know if they did or didn't, because I
Oh,
know
well
in
then,
Cambridge we're distributing Chromebooks, but
yeah, I
a
think
lot
Boston
of,
has done something, but you're right. There's a lot more kids there, a lot more.
yeah. So, it's really, and I don't know whether that's in terms of
Oh,
education, but,
absolutely.
it just seems to me that, those who talk about municipal broadband, or
Yeah,
never mind municipal broadband, internet access in whatever manner that can
right.
be.
Absolutely crucial.
And the thing is, schools, schooling just grinds to a halt without it now.
And don't you think that for the future there is going to be a lot of online teaching?
I think so. We actually had a meeting of the Harvard Extension School
Oh,
faculty today for
yeah.
the first time in 100 years.
What?
Well, the extension school doesn't actually work the way a traditional school. We don't have departments.
Yeah.
Faculties just pretty much do their own courses. So there's never really a meeting of the faculty, and I don't think there ever was one until today at 4:30.
Really?
We had
Amazing.
86 people online in a Zoom meeting.
And how was it?
Actually, it was actually pretty fabulous. And the thing is, an example of something that I'll bet you will continue even after all of this
Right,
passes,
right.
because it was actually relatively easy to implement, and
Mm-hmm.
it was effective, and it was a pretty good bonding experience for those of us who are actually
Good.
teaching classes there.
Great.
I think for me personally, making the transition has been
Yeah.
interesting. I
Uh-huh.
was lucky from my Harvard class because we already had pre-recorded lectures from when I did the course in the past.
Yeah.
So I could just pretty much just, roll tape, right? um, but
Right.
the type of interaction with students, it's a very different kind of interaction.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, it actually works better. I was making the point that some introverted students might be just quiet in a classroom, but
Yes.
now you have this ability for them to actually be just as interactive as others.
Yeah.
So there's some very interesting aspects about this terrible thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think hopefully some good will come out of it. And I've even, I read a lot, I watch a lot, probably more than you do, but I I have heard, some people say people may embrace more socialistic kind of ideas because they realize the inequality is so obvious right now to see who's dying and who's not that it's just hard to deny it anymore. And that maybe we definitely need a more compassionate leader. That's for sure.
That is absolutely for
An
sure.
empathic, compassionate leader. And right now, I mean, in the background, I have CNN on. I don't have the captions where oh, that excuse for a president, just he holds court for 2 hours a night.
I
It's
never watch it.
ridiculous. Well, I
I
know. I have to. I just feel like I have to keep in the know, but it's just awful. It's just really
I
awful.
do watch some of the updates from Andrew Cuomo in New York,
Oh, he's great. This
and
more, yeah, I like him.
honestly, a person who was in New York,
Right. Yeah.
he is the essence of
Yep.
the better part of being a New Yorker.
You're right.
He's straight shooter,
You're right.
right to you, doesn't sugarcoat it, but somehow
You're right.
manages to still be
Yes.
reassuring.
You're
You
right.
know,
He brought up something this morning, his I'll have to think of it because it was something, oh, Beetle Bailey or somebody, some reference. He said, well, if you don't know who that is, you should know it. Oh, no, I know what it was. Dragnet. Just the facts.
yeah,
He
just
had
the
a
fact.
photo of, is it Jack
Joe
Webb?
Friday,
Joe Friday.
Jack Webb played Joe Friday. Yeah,
Right. And he said, if you didn't know who he was, you should know. It
you
was like,
should know.
just
Yeah,
the facts. It was great.
classic New York.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, one of the other things that occurs to me, you see some of these stories. I think one today of farmers with cows where they were just dumping milk because they
Oh,
didn't
I've
have a
heard
way of
about
getting
this
milk
around the
to
country.
market.
Milk and
And everything's been changed because normally
yep,
they're delivering it to schools, but the schools
spinach,
aren't
fresh
open.
produce, everything. I don't get distribution system to get those products. I don't know.
Or the way it's funny because not funny, but people were talking about whether it was Envision Cambridge or some of the various other task forces that
Yeah,
have talked about Cambridge over the last few years. They throw around words like resiliency and
yeah,
sustainability.
yeah,
It's an abstraction.
yeah.
And one of the things that really strikes me in a big, big way here is how words that were once abstract are
Mm-hmm.
now absolutely front and center
Yep.
and very real.
Right.
So how resilient food delivery mechanisms
Right.
nationally and locally.
Right.
You know, I think about now when we need to go get some groceries,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to plan for going grocery
Yeah.
shopping and hope that there's not a gigantic line for an hour and a
Yeah.
half if you go there,
Gotten
right?
better. Yeah.
It's getting better, but it seems to me that when hopefully we get a little bit more normal, that there has to be some much more detailed, rich conversations
Yeah.
about basic stuff. We
Yep.
spend a lot of time in Cambridge
Mm-hmm.
arguing about, whether it's, bike lanes or other things that are, nice things, but
Yeah.
not like absolutely essential things. And
Yeah.
kind of hoping that we can actually really start thinking in terms of city planning about
Mm-hmm.
having a distribution of, food resources and
Yeah.
things that you can count on, groceries accessible to
Well,
everybody, regardless where you are.
food for free has been
Oh,
phenomenal, and anyone that has any extra funds, I keep giving to them because I can't help out because of my age. I can't, really volunteer anywhere, but they've been doing amazing work every day and getting the restaurants involved, get everyone. So Cambridge is trying to deliver. I mean,
yeah,
figuratively, and
right. And
clearly.
not just the city of Cambridge, but the people of
Oh, it's
Cambridge
true.
are
Yeah,
trying
yeah,
to do whatever they can.
that's right.
It'll be interesting to see whether some of these sort of community connection apparatus that are
Continue.
being
Yeah.
created, if they actually carry
Yeah,
on.
I think they
You know,
will. I think they've discovered some new networks and new avenues and ways to deal with things, and hopefully that knowledge will, you know, become part of something. Yeah.
right? Maybe we in the future we won't just be neighborhood listservs. We'll actually be networks that are actually cooperatively working to help everybody out.
Well, they
Which is
are actually.
richer.
You've
Well,
seen that. I mean, I've looked
yeah,
at, I'm on the Cambridge Port. I get the porter, and people are doing what they can.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and I hope some are engaging in politics, which really kind of gets me somewhat
Oh,
infuriated.
yeah.
Like people are taking counts of how so and so voted on such and
Really?
such a thing. Oh yeah, I'm seeing
Well,
that, and it actually brings me
oh,
down when I see it.
I don't. Well, I don't get. I guess I don't get those listservs or whatever.
Yeah, but no, it's a little. It throws me. It definitely throws me a little
Oh, I
bit.
think we'll go back to politics real easily. I mean, maybe not easily, but I think that's always going to be there. But
For years, I've made this big distinction between civics and politics.
uh-huh.
The civic activity, sort of trying to do
Well, they are.
good things.
You're right. You're right.
You're
Good
different
point.
things.
You're
And to
right.
me, this is yet another thing that sort of brought into focus is the difference between those who are civically active, the ones who are really,
Yes.
stepping up to the plate, trying to do all
Yeah.
the right things, regardless of the politics,
Yes.
and then
That's a good distinction, Robert. Civics versus, I like that. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing is, it's like a lot of other things where it's an abstraction until you put to the test, and then it
Right.
actually becomes a very, very real
Right.
distinction. You
Yes.
know, it's very much been interesting
Yeah.
throughout. Actually, one other thing, this is just sort of a more personal thing that whenever things kind of fall, one of the things that I find kind of interesting is. I'm actually going to just switch back here to the window
Yeah.
here, just
Yeah.
to highlight what I was about to say here, right?
Oh,
Which is
what?
just um, you know, life is kind of falling apart.
Oh,
Two
yeah.
doors away from me,
Mm-hmm.
they tore a building down that had been falling apart for years anyway,
Yeah.
and in a kind of a interesting way, every single day I get to watch them build a building.
So they're
And
selling it? I thought they couldn't
yes,
build it
well,
anymore.
because it's a small project, that's another question that definitely deserves more discussion, by
Yeah,
the
they
way.
need to work on that one. Yeah,
They need to have a better set of exceptions here. But the thing is, so
exactly.
they went from a big hole in the ground,
Oh my
and in a
goodness.
matter of weeks, they put in foundations and slabs, and then they
Wow.
start building it up. And I get to look out my kitchen window and watch actual building take place.
So that must be the top floor there, right?
That's top floor, looking across the
So
top of
what is it going to
Verismo.
be? It looks like many units. What
Well,
is it?
actually, I'll show you because the very last slide will show you
Oh,
that. So
good.
it goes up,
Yeah.
they cut the windows out here.
Yeah.
And this is, I took a
Oh
shot from today,
goodness.
watching the building. But
So
you know
was
what the building is?
what?
It's actually a Buddhist group, and it's the future home of the Cambridge Center for
No.
Peace.
Wow, they must have some bucks. I don't know about that.
Yeah, maybe so. But, there's something kind of symbolic and kind
That's
of
nice.
refreshing that
Yeah.
the building that's going up in my eclectic little neighborhood with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
bicycle school,
Right.
and some of these
Across the
other sort of
street.
odd
Yeah.
things that normally under real economics don't even get a chance to exist.
That's really nice.
So I get to see this, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
actually for
wonderful.
me, it's a very refreshing thing.
I was just going to say it's very refreshing that it's peace.
Yes, it's something related to peace.
So
So
I just wanted, let's see, it's 7:20, it's 7:23. We have 4 minutes left.
4 whole minutes left.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll see how this turns out. I'm sure Seth will let us know because this was supposed to be a test, but maybe they'll air it. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. So, so there's a couple of other things I'll just mention here.
Okay.
One is this sort of, there's tragedy associated with this, and I
Oh,
have
yeah.
to say personally, my personal favorite songwriter artist ever is
John
John
Prine.
Prine.
John Prine. Yep.
So that was for
Yep.
me is the one tragedy that really kind of hit
Yeah.
home the hardest for me.
I wanted to do a karaoke to Angel from Montgomery, and I never knew
Yeah,
it was his
wonderful
song.
song.
So
Yeah, I mean Bonnie Raitt
someday I
made it
might do it.
famous. Yeah, another thing that's been kind of interesting, sort of shut in the indoors all the time, is that
Yeah.
I have a tendency to pick up things over time. Books, and
Yeah.
whether it's history books of Cambridge,
Yeah.
but I also I'm a big fan of alternative comics. Robert Crumb,
Oh gosh.
Zippy the
Yeah.
Pinhead, and
Yeah. That's not me.
plenty of other things. But I would buy things and even movies, and then I would buy them, put them on the shelf, saying, "Oh, I'll get to that. I'll get to that,"
And
and
now
then I
you
would
are.
never get to that.
Yeah.
I've actually been reading some of these things and going
Wow.
through all these many
Good.
things that have been basically collecting on the shelf. So
That's nice. I haven't done anything I'm supposed to do except except like I have a quilt that I'm supposed to be working on for the last 10 years of my dad's ties and photos of him, which I've already put on fabric. And so one of these days, who knows?
yeah, well, might as well make good use of a bad time.
Well, I
Make
go
a
for
little lemonade out of the lemons.
I go for long walks every day. If I didn't do that, my mental health would be in the toilet. And I try to do what I can. I listen to webinars on recycling. I do that.
Right.
And so I am becoming an expert on everything COVID and recycling and waste reduction. But that's really, I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I guess I don't know how this is going to turn out, like in terms of whether we do this once a week, a half hour, or whatever. They'll let
Well,
us.
we'll see.
Yeah.
One last thing point is to make is, just like so many businesses have been terribly affected by
Yeah.
this, whether it's restaurants and
Yeah.
others. I think about that every single day,
Yeah.
including personal friends who are really kind of being put into a precarious situation financially,
Uh-huh.
and just how we somehow navigate through all of this so that
Yeah.
good people somehow still come out intact. And the government has a role here. If ever there was a time for government to do right, this is definitely it.
Well, hopefully some of these programs, I mean, there's $2 trillion. I mean, who would ever thought that? So hopefully the people are getting the money, but it's the process. No one, I mean, this is really unprecedented. I hate to use that word, but that's what everyone says. I mean,
Or unprecedented. Yeah.
oh, I
Yeah.
never thought of that.
But,
Yeah.
it does sort of point out to me though that just like
Yeah.
the difficulty in delivering food and personal
Yep.
protection equipment,
Oh,
even
yeah.
the ability to actually deliver economic benefits that the Congress passes trillions, but the thing is that how that actually
Yeah.
gets to where it needs to be.
I know. Did you get a check yet? Did you
No,
get a check?
no, not yet.
I mean, I haven't gotten anything
Right.
yet. Yeah. Anyway, thankfully, I don't, neither one of us have to do unemployment.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
good.
So I think we're
All right. So we have like 7 seconds
all
left
right.
here.
So anyway, we'll
So,
hope to see y'all soon
yeah.
on Cambridge Inside Out.
Okay.